Financial argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Now, yesterday we had this huge push in the market, and today the market really hasn't gone anywhere. But very interestingly, gold is being suppressed down. It's being pushed down once again right on schedule. Now remember, at this point they're trying to push and suppress gold as best they possibly can, but as you can see, it hasn't really moved down to where they would like it, and that would be around the $1,200 range. And every time they do this, we're going to see newer highs. So this time around, we should see gold go over 1,300 and most likely maybe stay above 1,300 at this point. And as we continually see gold continually move up with larger gains, this is a signal that they're losing control, that it's time to say, okay, I haven't been prepping, I better prep. Those who have been prepping, it is time to ramp this up because I see what's happening here. And we're starting to see this right now. And what's happening in this economy, it is deteriorating very, very quickly. It's accelerating. The statistical numbers that the government is putting out, the information that the government is putting out, no one is really believing, or they are questioning it and saying something just doesn't make sense. Now, RBS, they're planning to cut 900 jobs. This is out in Britain. And something very interesting here in the United States is that the New York Fed is warning about a subprime mortgage crisis once again. And the New York Fed is warning that this is a ticking time bomb. And they're saying that, well, we really don't have to worry about this time because the government is guaranteeing the loans. Well, that really means the taxpayers are guaranteeing the loans, because we can see how they manipulated all this. So this way they can play their games like they did last time, have everything come to a screeching halt and a crash, and the government is going to do a bailout of all of this, just like they did the last time. All they're doing is setting up different schemes to take care of themselves. The rest of the people, well, they're going to be left out in the street. We see the Baltic Dry Index. It is down to 580 points, down 2 points. And regulators in Sweden, the largest bank, they're saying the bank has a 9.7 billion capital shortfall. And this does not look good. Now, analysts at Sweden's FSA have discovered that an internal bank model used to assess risks of loss on its loans portfolio had understated their risk by as much as half of the end of last year. As a result, the document said there's about 9.7 billion in new capital that would have to be raised to fulfill these requirements. Now, we're seeing this in many different banks where they're short, where they're in trouble. And what this tells us is that things are rapidly falling apart. In Japan, exports have fell by 11.3% in May. Exports to the U.S. have fallen by 10.7%. Exports to China have plummeted to 14.9%. And now the IMF is coming out and saying, okay, Japan's economy, we're only expecting it to grow about 0.5% in 2016. 2017, maybe only 0.3%. And maybe 0% by 2030. Now take those numbers and bring them down even lower, because we know the IMF always predicts high. And these are actually low numbers. And the IMF is giving advice to Japan right now, saying that they need to change things up, they need reforms, and the government needs to introduce a raise base wage increase by at least 3%. And they need to back this up by stronger tax incentives to help out, and as a last resort, penalties. Now, the consumption tax hike to 10%, which the government delayed until 2019, should be replaced by a gradual increasing tax of at least 15%. So the IMF right now has studied Japan's economy, And they've come to this incredible conclusion that Abenomics, well, it's been a miserable failure. Their advice, scrap all the plans for hitting any kind of economic targets, just force the companies to raise wages and raise everyone's taxes by 15%. That's their answer right now. Is it going to work? Of course it isn't. Because we need to go to the root of the problem, and this is the central banking system the way it is designed. To continually push out debt. And as you continually push out debt, you can never fix this problem. It will only get worse. This is a band-aid fix, a short-term fix, which won't even last. Now we see out in Europe, the EU, they're trying to make sure that this Brexit will not succeed. And remember, the EU is a non-elected body that's telling governments to be very democratic, to have elections when they themselves are not elected into their positions. Very interesting. In France, President Hollande, he has proposed a ban on all demonstrations. The excuse that he is using is that the country is plagued with terrorism, and the conditions right now are not in place to protect those people who want to protest. And of course we know we have the football tournament going on right now, and demonstrators, they can't go out and protest because France, the president, is telling them that we can't protect you, and this is why you can't do this, which is absolutely ridiculous. The people are not asking for their protection. The people want to freely protest and voice their concerns. But of course, as we know, governments, they don't want the people to do this. Out in Venezuela, things are really getting worse right now. We know there's an economic war going on with the United States. We see Venezuela's economy, it is collapsing. 80%, 87% of Venezuelans now say they don't have enough money to buy food. Reports coming out of Venezuela say that 72% of monthly wages are being allocated to just food alone, according to the Center of Documentation and Social Analysis. Over the last 2 weeks, there were many food riots, protests, mass looting all over the country. And we can see right now the United States government central bankers, they're putting a lot of pressure on Maduro in Venezuela. He's trying many different things. He changed the time zones. He's telling people to cut their electrical use. He's trying everything he possibly can to have state holidays so they don't have to pay employees. And we see right now the inflation there is 180.9%. They're expecting it to go up to 720% by the end of this year. And when we look at the situation, we have to look at this, and we have to look at the situation in Argentina, look at the situation in Brazil, look at it in Greece, look at it in Cyprus, and take all of this and say, okay, when this economy comes down, when things go south, this is exactly what it's going to look like. And it is not going to get better as time goes on. Because when this hits, everything is going to freeze up. Credit markets are going to freeze up. Deliveries are going to freeze up. No one's going to be able to get paid right now. And this is why, right now, everyone needs to really ramp up their preps. Get food. Think about it. If these people were prepping all this time, having food and water, having the supplies they need, they wouldn't be out there spending their currency on food right now. They wouldn't be in middle of the riots. And this is why everyone needs to be prepared and ready. If you're going to Costco, if you're going to the supermarket, wherever you're going, if you're getting your food, you're getting your supplies, you're getting medical supplies, getting water, getting batteries, candles, toiletries, whatever you're getting, keep doing it. If you're going to lifereliance.com, continually get their emergency foods, get their water filtration system, get their seeds, get whatever they have. You don't want to be out there when this whole entire thing goes down, because there's going to be plenty of people out there running around. Make sure you have a weapon to protect your family, because people are going to get desperate. And as this economy continually deteriorates and gets worse and worse, The government is going to continually come out and tell us that everything is fine, there's nothing to worry about, the economy's doing well, and this is a sure sign that the opposite is actually happening. Because we've been tracking this, following this, and we realize that everything the government is saying, we're seeing the opposite happen. And every time the government tells you that everything is going to be okay, you know that this whole thing is going to go the opposite way. Because every time something goes down, it is always the opposite of what the government is telling you. Just to think of all the times the Obama administration has told us things. Obamacare, it's going to be affordable. It's not. We're not going to be putting boots on the ground in Iraq or Syria. We have. I mean, all of these things. I'm not coming after your weapons. Well, they're coming after the weapons. They continually do this over and over, and we all need to be ready, prepared for what is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.